I love pins. I love enamel pins. I love pin badges, and I collect them, and I actually have so many of them, including the ones here that you can see. I've actually bought a whole bunch from different artists, including Bailey J, Sugar Bunny Shop, Casey Golden, and more, and I really love the idea of designing my own and selling my own one day, but I actually can't do that at this time. When getting enamel pins manufactured, you have to actually buy a lot of them, and it can be quite costly when you don't make a lot of sales like I do. So at this time, I can't really justify designing my own enamel pin yet. However, I can make them with this clay right here. I actually had the idea randomly recently, and I looked it up, and you can do it. You can make pins out of polymer clay, and they're actually quite popular. Now I'm actually going to let you guys know beforehand that the pins that I make today are actually available on my shop, so if you want to go check that out you can. I will leave a link in the description, but yeah, let's get to making them. So a few art supplies I'm going to be using today are fimo, polymer clay, as well as some tools, as well as paint, pastels, and alcohol ink. Now to turn these creations into pins, I actually have these here. I got them from my local Spotlight, and they are basically the backings of a pin, and you can just stick them to whatever you like as long as the glue is, you know, strong enough. Speaking of glue, I'm going to be using E6000 glue here because I want it to be nice and strong, and I am going to eventually give them a nice coat of gloss. So let's get into it. So I started off with a few sketches, as you can see here, and I actually had the idea to make a little ramen bowl pin. I just think that that would be really cute, and I could get some really cool 3D effects using my clay extruder and make some little ramen noodles, and I thought that that was a cute idea. As well as that, I also thought to make a little corgi, because that would just be adorable. If I could make like a little corgi pin, that would just, I would be so happy. After this, I sketched out an idea for a little cottagecore picnic basket, and I really like that idea, but I wanted to sort of limit myself to two designs today because I really want to try and make them the best that they can be, and just super cute and detailed and pretty. And yeah, so I decided to go with the corgi because how can I not? I need to make a little corgi. I don't actually have any corgi merch, and I'm gonna do it today. And I'm gonna do the ramen because a lot of people loved my ramen dragon, so I want to make some more little ramen things because I just think that is really cool. So now I've cut out my little designs here, and I'm actually using it to you know, draw around for the shape of the clay. So I'm basically just sticking the paper down on the clay and then, you know, tracing around the outside with my X-Acto knife to cut it to size so that they are all about the same size and shape and, you know, thickness. Now for the noodles, I really don't want to paint individual noodles because that would just be very stressful. So I actually decided to color the clay here, and I used a lot of alcohol ink in a lot of warm yellow tones just to get some really nice sort of noodly colors, kind of a soft light yellowy tone for them. And after this, I rolled it up into a little sausage and put it into my clay extruder, as you can see here. And when you twist the handle, and it just comes out in all of these little noodles, and I just found this so satisfying because honestly, they looked like little ramen noodles. They acted like little ramen noodles the way that they moved around, and yeah, it was just so fun and so easy as well. Imagine having to roll out all of those noodles individually. I don't think I would be able to do it, so that clay extruder is definitely a godsend with that. So I just placed all of the noodles down in some sections where it looked really nice, and then after that I cut out a sort of oval shape in that, and that's what is going to be sitting on the top of the noodle bowl. And I made sure to cut it to size so that it fit really well, and I actually cut out a little section of the bowl so that the noodles looked kind of more recessed in, because I feel like it would just look silly if they were sitting on top, because they're actually supposed to be inside the bowl. And I'm actually really glad that I did that because it turned out really nice. After that, I did the exact same thing to the rest of them, which is 4. So there's 4 total. I made sure to use a little bit of liquid fimo underneath so that it would glue down nicely, and there would be no risk of them coming out of the bowls in the future, because that would be ridiculous if they broke and all these little noodles are going everywhere. But after this, I actually did roll out a long thin sausage, and I cut that into pieces which I was going to use for little chopsticks in the bowl, and I just think that they look so cute sitting on top of the noodles there. After this, it was time to add a few other little toppings for the noodle bowls, and I decided on a piece of meat, whether it is bacon or pork. That is up to your interpretation, but I basically just layered some brown and white clay together and squished it down so it was nice and flat, and cut little slices off to make these little pieces of meat, and they actually look really cute and tiny and realistic, and I love that. I basically did the exact same thing to make some little eggs to put on there, because I love having a little bit of hard-boiled egg on my ramen. I just think it looked really cute and nice. And then after this, I went to coloring, and I'm actually using some soft pastel that I shaved with my X-Acto knife, and I'm using this to shade in the bowl because I really love the way that you can add really soft shading and shadows and gradients with that stuff. I just think it looks really cool. You can get some really soft light colors with a paintbrush, but I also use my finger to add in some darker, more saturated parts, and I think it turned out pretty well. After this, it was time to start on the corgis, because I planned on baking all of these little pins together, because that would just be easier and quicker. So of course I moved on to the corgis, and I'm basically doing the exact same thing I did at the start of the bowls, and I'm just tracing the corgis around. Now I rotated a few of them so that it would fit nice and snug on this little piece of clay here. And I'm actually using a bit of thicker clay than I did last time, because these corgis are pretty much going to be 2D and they won't have like 3D bits sticking out on them. So I was able to make them a little bit thicker, and I think that they will be really nice. After I got all of those outlines off, I'm just using my X-Acto knife to clean up the edges a little bit and cut off little pieces that I have missed earlier. And now it's time for the fun part. I'm doing the same thing with the soft pastels, and I'm actually using quite a few different colors for these corgis, because I really want them to look sort of, I don't know, have them slightly realistic shading, make them look almost 3D, but they're not. I love doing that, and it was so fun just to add all of that soft shading with the pastels. This is probably the most fun I've ever had with these pastels, and I don't know why I haven't tried this earlier. It is so fun. I used a bunch of different browns here, and as you can see, some of the corgis look slightly different, and I think that that's good. I like how they're all basically the same, but they have slight variances. It kind of reminds me of like a litter of puppies, how they're all related and they all look similar, but there are slight differences in that, and I like it. But anyway, now that they have been baked, I'm just sanding the bottoms and the sides just a little bit to smooth out any areas where it is a little bit rough. And now it is time to paint on the details of these corgis. Now I am using some acrylic paint for this, and I'm just painting in the white areas, which would be the white markings on the corgi. So we have a little bit on the face that goes up between the ears, as well as a little tiny bit on the tummy area, and a little bit on the front and the back paws. Now we're not done with the ramen bowls yet. I wanted to add a little bit more detail onto them just to make them really shine, and I'm actually using my paint pens for this, my Artistro paint pens, and they were amazing because I was able to get some really nice little fine lines and have the convenience of a pen, but it was acrylic paint, so it was opaque. Now I'm adding a little white outline around the top of the bowl, as well as a sort of dotted line and then a white line at the bottom, and I think that that really helps with the definition of the bowl. It makes it look a lot more 3D, as well as just adding a little bit more detail to give visual interest. I'm also adding a little bit of white to the ends of the chopsticks just to have a little bit of a pattern there. And after that, I'm going to add a little bit more detail. I had the idea to add some little tiny green dots onto some areas, and those are actually little tiny spring onions or chives, and I really love adding those to my own ramen, and I just thought it added a nice little splash of color in there, and it contrasts quite well with the red, so I'm happy with that. After this, the acrylic paint on the corgis was finally dry, and I went in with my paint pens and added cute little faces to these corgis, and this is just where they really came to life. Those little smiles are just so cute, and I really love the little toe beans that I added to the back feet. I just think it looks so adorable how their little feet are sticking out like that. They actually do that in real life, you know? It's so cute. But yeah, again, purposefully, I actually changed the facial expressions just a tiny bit in each one because I really like the idea of them being siblings, not clones. I just think that's really cute. And after this, I decided that I was going to paint the edges of the corgis with gold. And that's because corgis are royalty, and I just thought it would look really nice and add a little bit of a nice sort of shine to them. Now after this, it is time to turn them into pins, and as you can see here, I have this glue, which is the E6000 glue. It was the strongest glue that I could find that would work well for this purpose, and I added in the little pin backings slightly above the middle line because with these they are a little bit top heavy and I didn't want them to sort of turn upside down accidentally, so I made sure to do that with the ramen bowls. And yeah, it was actually really easy and fun. Now with the corgis, I decided to add 2 to each one because they are a bit larger and also they're a strange shape, so I wanted to make sure that you know, you could connect them to clothing or anything quite easily, and also so they won't rotate or anything like that. And yeah, here is the backings stuck on, and I think it looks really good, and yeah, it was just fun to do and I really like it. After this, I wanted to sign the backs of these because these are pretty much small original artworks slash sculptures. So of course I want to sign my work, and also it just looks nice having the scribble fix on the back there. A little bit of branding, kind of like an autograph or a signature. Now I am going to give them a light coat of a gloss varnish just to protect them and protect that paint, but I couldn't do that while taking the product photos because after you spray them you can't touch them for like over 24 hours, so I didn't want to get any fingerprints on them or anything. But here is the final result, and I absolutely love these. They turned out way better than I expected. They are so fun and cute. And if you want one, you can get yours at scribblefix.storenvy.com. Now, there are only 4 of each, so they are quite limited, so be quick if you want to get your hands on that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like and subscribe button and comment below any ideas for future pins because this was so fun and I just want to make more and more. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye everyone.